your secrets for way too long. This can't keep going on. With every lie, they keep on hurting you, getting away with everything they do. This can't keep going on. No, we're gonna find them, and I'm gonna fight for you. They better start hiding. We'll be running with the lions, lions. We'll be running with the lions, lions. They can't run, they can't hide. We won't stop until they're down. We'll be running with the lions, lions.
Hello, everyone, and happy Sunday. Welcome to another episode of Gloves Off. I'm your host, Dr. Kalpana Sundar, and I always appreciate you who have tuning in for the past couple of months to join our show. I am so excited because our viewership keeps going up every month, and it's super exciting for me. So I love that kind of feedback because obviously you guys are enjoying the show. And again, if there's anything for those of you who have been watching every week that you would like to see changed, I am all ears, and I'm happy to hear any commentary. But for those of you who are new, Gloves Off is a show about people who show up authentically in the world, meaning that they are not really willing to just stick with the traditional confines. And often our guests, you will use a story of something that was difficult for them, and then they transmute it, they transform it, they alchemize it into something more beautiful. And that is the same with today's guest. I'm going to be interviewing in a little while, Karianne Munstedt. She is really somebody fabulous, and I love what she's doing to inspire women to look and feel their best. But I know I had another photographer on the show a few weeks ago, and you may be thinking, oh, it's a photographer. But I have to say, photographers are so different. And I've had the benefit of being photographed a lot in my career. And I have to tell you, every single time, that photographer will bring their own unique perspective through that lens. And I love that. So in Karianne's case, she went through some difficult things in childhood that really shaped her perspective about what she wants to do for women. So we're going to really be talking about that. But before we get into all that, I'd like to thank our sponsor, Elevated CPA, for continuing to sponsor the show every week. So if you're a small business owner, you need taxes done, you want to not worry about those kind of things and not get in trouble with the IRS, it may be a good time to find an accountant. All right. So what I didn't mention about Karianne Munstedt was that she's also a speaker. She's an author. And what I love that I was saying is that she brings this unique perspective through the lens for her clients. And, women, we don't like to be photographed. Most of us don't, because it brings out a lot of insecurities and whatnot. So it really takes a certain kind of person for women to open up to and feel comfortable. The other thing I love about her story is that she's really defined those traditional roles, and her story and my story have some parallels because neither of us wanted to be stuck to society's little confines. So without further ado, let's welcome Karianne Munstedt. Hello, Karianne. Welcome to Gloves Off.
Thank you so much for having me, Kalpana.
Oh, thank you for being here. I'm so excited to deep dive into your story. I
Sure.
um I just love what you're doing. Obviously when we met through a mutual a connection, which was
Yes,
wonderful. I love when
yes.
people introduce me to other great people. And then we've been following each other on social media and I've been seeing all the things you're doing. And I love it because as I said before, women feel uncomfortable being photographed and they feel exposed in many ways. So if you don't mind, can we just start with talking a little bit about that and how you make women feel comfortable?
Oh goodness, that's a big question.
I know.
You
Let's
know,
just start with the crazy stuff, right?
but I think that the way that I make women feel comfortable is just, I mean, like I've gone through a huge transformation myself, right? Like I haven't always been this person who could make other people feel comfortable, and especially in front of the camera. Um, I have heard that, being photographed is one of the most vulnerable places that we can be, right? Because like you said, like it starts bringing up a lot of our insecurities, especially around our body image, all the different things, right? All the ways that we're not perfect enough, right? Our body's not perfect enough, our hair isn't, we've got wrinkles and gray hairs and all the things, right? All the things that society tells us that we're not supposed to have.
Mhm.
And I used to feel the exact same way too, but I just got to a point where it's just not serving me anymore. And so I've done a, huge transformation on myself. And I loved your intro so much. That was so fun to watch from the side. And I loved all the words that were popping up. And authenticity was one of those words that popped up too. And that is definitely my word in a nutshell at this point. I try to be as humanly authentic as possible. And that comes in showing all different aspects of me, the good and the bad. And I'm a super curvy woman as well. And I'm on sharing photos of me in my bathing suit and sharing my weight and sharing my size and all those things, because really when it comes down to it, it's all this numbers that doesn't, it's not those things don't tell us who we are as human beings, right?
Mhm.
I love the saying that our body is the least interesting thing about us, right?
Oh, I
And
love that.
isn't that beautiful? Isn't that beautiful? And it's
Yes.
so true, right? Like the light that we are giving to this world, our minds, our dreams, our goals, the good that we're
Mhm.
putting out in there, the joy that we bring to this world, like that is so
Right.
much more important than what we actually look like.
I
So,
couldn't agree
yes,
more. I mean, after, and especially after we have children, our bodies are less perfect than they were, and then I think, I've actually told somebody this, a younger woman who was so worried about perfection in her body. I said, you know what? I believe that my body is just a way to enjoy this earth, in its
exactly.
3D perspective. And that I'm grateful for my body for allowing me to experience that. I'm grateful for the fact that it could give another two lives that I created.
Yes.
I'm grateful for all those things. So that's how I view my body. Whereas in my 20s, I just thought it had to be perfect. And I'd look at cellulite or this or that and just,
Right. Right.
oh, us women, we go through a lot.
All the things. And it definitely, as we get older, we do bring more wisdom to it and stop caring so much about the need for perfection, but it still stays with us forever. I typically photograph women over the age of 40 in my business because I'm over 40 and I know what it means to be a woman who is over the age of 40. And we stop seeing ourselves we stop seeing people who look like us in movies and in magazines and on TV, all those places in the media. We stop seeing uh, you know, we're a little older, our bodies are softer, we have more fat and more cellulite and gray hairs and wrinkles, and we stop seeing that. And I know that society is changing a little bit at a time, but still,
Mhm.
we stop seeing that for the most part. So I really focus on photographing women over the age of 40. But what I was going to say is that although we have a lot more wisdom, I have photographed women from 40 to 80, and we all still, no matter how old we get, we still hold on to some pieces of, not feeling perfect enough in our bodies because of the messages we continue to get from, society and from the beauty industry.
Mhm.
So I've lost my train of thought on
That's
this at
okay.
this
I mean, but it is getting better, as you said. I mean, we're actually seeing more representation in commercials, TV, in magazines for women who are not just Caucasian, who are curvier, and not,
Absolutely.
even when I shop for clothing online, I see various representations of women that are in different sizes, whereas they used
100%.
to show the size 2 only because, and then, if you're a size 10, you get into that outfit, it looks different.
And if you're a woman of any color except for white skin, you didn't see yourself at all either. So
No.
things are definitely changing slowly, but definitely surely. So, I'm hopeful that as the next generation comes along, as our daughters and granddaughters continue to grow up and come along, that they'll start seeing a lot more diversity in the media as well. So I know it's coming. It just, with any shift, it takes a while to go through all the cycles of the generations.
It really does. It really does. And with that, what it does to us women is it gets us feeling. I mean, I remember growing up, I actually wanted to model when I was younger, but then
Yeah.
I was told I was too short, too fat, and brown, and then none of those things were good, and now
Isn't that
it's nice.
ridiculous?
Yeah, and now it's nice. I'm watching models that are all different shapes and sizes
Yes.
and all different ages. It's not like you have to be done. I've seen one model who's I think in her 60s or something, and she's
Yes.
absolutely 70s, and she's really beautiful. And I love that it is finally changing because this has really done I want to say a head job on all of us women watching
Right.
this, trying to be something that we cannot get to. So no matter what fitness level women are in, we will find a way to shame ourselves. I used to be 110 pounds and I thought I was fat.
Yeah, me too. I was never 110. Very young, but was around maybe 140. And I remember I was athletic. I was in a totally average body, had some muscles. And I remember looking around and thinking that I was fat. I also, in my own mind, I just was having this thought the other day. I had friends who were petite, who were maybe 5 foot, 5'2", and weighed very little. And me as a 5'6", 140 pound athletic person, I was like, wow, I'm way too fat. So I did what I could to mold myself to be more like them. And that was just because the messaging that I was receiving around me. Now this was when I was like 17, 16, 17. So things have
Right.
changed since then. But there's all sorts of influences that kind of tell us that too, no matter what body weight we're at, no matter what exercise level that we're at, that it's never enough, never little enough, never enough exercise, never little enough weight, all the things that messages continue to tell us.
Right, right. And then what we're doing, society has actually created a lot of problems with this because then we get into some real unhealthy habits. For example, binge dieting, yo-yo dieting, all these weight loss medications that are out there. I'm not a fan of those. But, I feel that there is a place for them with the right person. But some people really think it's their magic bullet. We as a society have a lot of room for improvement in what we are feeding into the minds of the other people around us. And
Absolutely.
we're just almost like infecting everybody to believe something. So the reality is that I feel that people, women, men, everybody should be where they feel healthy and good. Because
Yes.
the reality is, I could probably lose 5 pounds. And then if I lose 5 pounds, I can't eat a single thing wrong and it would just come back. So there's a point where it's ridiculous. Like I'm at a weight where I can pretty much do what I want and live life very comfortably. I like that. I don't want to be 5 pounds less and not have that freedom. So I'm sure
Exactly.
there's a set point for everybody. I know there is for me. And we got to find what that is that makes us feel comfortable in our own skin, enjoying life because gosh, we're here to enjoy it. I don't want to be so strict on my diet. Just come on. I want to live a little.
I completely agree. I think that it comes down to, like you said, every single body is different. So people are made up of different genetics, and some people are just naturally thin. Some people are naturally heavier. And
Right.
we just have to come to a society in that there's nothing wrong with either one of those things. thin
Right.
is great and good, and curvy is great and good, and everything higher than that and in between and lower than that is great and good. No bodies are wrong bodies. And so I think that we're shifting more and more to that. But it's just about being comfortable in your own skin and being, I mean, whatever our definition of healthy is, right? Not what somebody else's
Mhm.
definition of healthy is, our doctors, the BMI index, all those things, right? Wherever we are healthy in our own skin and comfortable in our own skin is where we should fall within ourselves. Exercise levels, weight levels, all the things. And so it's really getting to know your own body and leaning into that and being comfortable with that.
Yes. And really what's attractive? So I've heard this before that women want to be X, Y, and Z to be more attractive to men. Now, here's the thing. I've been single for a while now, so I've dated a lot. And what men really like is women who are okay with who they are and what they are. No man really, not long term anyway, wants to be with a woman who's so afraid of how she looks that she's always self-conscious. There's an energy behind that, and it's palpable and frankly annoying to me to be around people like that. Just,
Right,
I
right,
don't want that because again, it's not the frequency of authenticity. So because of that, I have this, I think just during the process that I'm going through, I just can't be around people who are so not in touch with themselves. It's hard for me. I
right,
mean, I'm happy to help them
right,
in some way, but they're not people I choose to hang out with. And
right,
don't you find that that's true? I mean, men don't want women that are perfect.
absolutely. I mean,
Not a
who
real
really
man
wants
anyway.
really wants a perfect person, honestly? I mean, how boring would that be? I mean, it's people's quirks and the things that make them a little different, that make them really the most interesting, right? And you know,
100%.
the way that I look at it also is like, great if you want to be a certain way for someone else, but we need to dress and feel our way for ourselves first, right? Like dress dress cute for ourselves because we want to, not because we're trying to attract someone else, but because we just feel
100%.
good in that, right? Act and do the things that you truly want to do, because that is what, that's where the confidence comes from, is because we are, fully doing what we want to do and enjoying life. And then that is the confidence that if you are in the market for attracting someone else, it's naturally going to come to you, and even better because you are authentically being yourself. So that's where I go back to time and time again, is like, let's just do it all. Like we are the person that we spend the most time with in our lives, right? So no
Right.
matter, we're going to be with ourselves for our entire lives. So why don't we do things that please us? Do our hair in a way that pleases us, and our makeup and our clothing and our activities. Do those things that please us. And again, if you are in the market for attracting someone else, it's just naturally going to come more because you are more confident in your own skin.
Well, they're also going to be attracted to the right version of you. So, for
Mhm.
example, if you are putting
Exactly.
on this facade and this mask, you're going to
Oh
attract
man.
somebody. But once they find out who you really are, they may or may not, they probably won't like you because you attracted something with a little mask on. And
Oh
then,
man.
then it all goes
Yeah.
down the shitter, really, after
Right.
that.
That is like total perfectionism. It's definitely been a journey for me in my life. I definitely was a perfectionist. And I did that thing where I put on the mask so that no one ever actually truly knew the real me. I don't know. I never get let anyone get very close at all, because I was so afraid that if they got to know the real me, that they would turn away from me and reject me, not want to actually be with me in a romantic way or be with me in a friendship way, whatever it was. So I held on to that mask, and it was over my face so tight, right? And so I never had very deep relationships with friends. I had a short marriage the first time, but he probably really never even knew the real me either. And once I was able to kind of get out of the jaws of perfectionism and really move more towards authenticity. And it's not an easy thing. It's a long
Oh,
thing.
no.
It's an every single day type thing. It's when I truly was able to remove that mask of perfectionism and be the real me, and know that it's okay. Some people are going to like me, and that's great. And some people are not going to like me, and that is okay too. We are all different. It's all okay. So yeah, so really, ditching the perfectionism and showing up as yourself is going to attract, again, in romantic relationships and in friendships, people who are more our people, because they're showing up for us instead of this masked version of us.
100%. And again, I had mentioned earlier as I was talking about the show, your life and my life have a lot of parallels because I did the same thing. And I didn't have a short marriage the first time around. It was actually a long marriage. And I have to tell you, I don't think he really knew who I was because I wasn't ready to let that be seen. I had this facade of somebody totally different. I was never vulnerable. And it's funny because I joke with people and I say the one thing the one word men never use to describe me is sweet.
Oh,
Because in romantic relationships, I will I don't know, I think I felt vulnerable being sweet, but now people are
yeah.
actually saying I'm sweet. I'm like,
Yeah,
yes,
I
I'm
can
doing
see that.
well.
I would be like, you're sweet. I can see that.
I was like, but this was something that I couldn't do in a romantic relationship.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
could do it easier in friendships or even male
sure,
friendships that I have. I could do it with that. I just couldn't
sure.
do it in romantic partnerships for whatever reason. And
Yeah,
now I'm finally getting over that hump. And it's funny how we put these masks on. We don't know why. Well, because for me, I just didn't want to get hurt. So I think because I didn't want to get hurt, I put on this mask of not being sweet, like a powerhouse mask, which is fine
right.
because that is a part of who I am, but I'm
Yeah,
also really sweet. But I've learned that I could have boundaries around things, that I could still be sweet. And when the boundaries are breached, well, then I express that the boundary got breached.
exactly. We are complex individuals and we have a wide range of emotions that we can show, right? We don't have to be sweet all the time because
No.
that's not me either, but
Oh,
we don't
no.
have to be hard all the time too, right? Like we can be a mixture when it's the right time. And
It's like a
you may,
dance. A
right,
dance.
exactly.
Between all the different portions.
Did you have sweetness modeled for you when you were growing up?
No.
Yeah, so it could be, things that that came from our parents as well, and different cultures also. So, I mean, if we didn't
Right.
see those things growing up, like we don't know how to do those things too, right?
Mm-mm.
So you might
It's
not have
true.
even realized that you weren't being sweet, or like what even is sweet until people started pointing it out to you. So
100%. I didn't have that. I mean, I didn't have parents that were like honey, sugar plum or any of those kind of things. None of those things happened in my home. Like, did you get a B? Oh my God. Like it was just constant criticism, of
oh,
like, I could do better. I could do better, et cetera, et cetera. So I just
I
grew
see
up.
where your perfectionism came from,
Yeah,
right?
100%.
I mean,
And now I'm okay with not being perfect finally. So anyway, like translating this into the camera, your
yeah,
life experience has clearly shaped your patience, your understanding of
yes,
your client, your person who's coming to you, needing
yeah,
these photographs for whatever reason, feeling
yeah,
vulnerable. So how
yeah.
do you make them feel comfortable?
Yeah. So, well, going back to the family experiences a little bit. So, growing up, and I would say, eighth grade on, I lived in a household where we had to portray a perfect version of our family on the outside, right? It didn't
Mhm.
matter what was going on the inside, and there were a lot of not good things that were going on the inside. But to the outside world, we had to look like we were the perfect family. So a lot of that fell on my mom to look perfect.
Mhm.
So my mom was constantly, in exercise class, and she was also doing every single diet that you can potentially think of, right? And so, I mean, everyone under the sun, I would name them all, but there's just too many to name, right?
Mhm.
And so that's what I saw modeled to me, that I thought that was the right way to be, was to constantly be on a diet and constantly be thinking about your body and constantly be trying to change your body and shrink your body because someone else has told us to.
Mhm.
And so that's what I did. So we talked a little bit earlier about that I was, very average size person, but seeing my mom doing this, I got on every diet and I lost a lot of weight and I was really, really thin. And that was, to me, it was like the pinnacle. I remember, I think it was around my 20th birthday. I can see this picture of myself where I just was so cute, but I remember my thinking I was so cute because I was so thin. But when it's these yo-yo diets and it's not really where your body is meant to be, it's not going to continue like that. So
Right.
over years after that, when I was finally able to kind of get out from that whole atmosphere and live on my own and not be kind of under that thumb anymore, I started gaining weight and gaining weight and gaining weight and gaining weight. And I probably went from 110 or 120 pounds to nearly 300 pounds at one point.
Oh, wow.
So my body has been through it. Exactly. And, that's over the course of probably, you know, almost 30 years, 25 years probably, but my
Mhm.
body has been through it all. But so, what I bring to women in this is that, I have been through it all. I have seen bodies from every size. I have seen, well, my own body has gone through every size. So I
Mm.
totally understand every single woman when she comes in, right? You can be the curviest women, and I see your body as completely beautiful. You can be super thin, and I see your body as completely beautiful. It doesn't matter where you're at. Like, through my lens of my life experiences that I have gone through, I don't want women to ever have to think that they have to change their body to be photographed, especially. So you show up exactly where you are in your life, and that is beautiful and wonderful. And I'm going to capture that and show you that for yourself.
I love that. And you're right, it is so vulnerable. So having somebody on the other end of that camera who really understands what that feels like has got to be such a rewarding experience. And one who can appreciate, because we can tell if somebody's like, "Oh, you look great," but if it's not authentic, you can completely tell that
I
it's
know.
you don't
People
feel
say
great.
that to me. They're like, "Oh, you must say this to all your clients." And I'm like, "Well, yeah, I do say that to all my clients. And honestly, I would not say it if I didn't completely 100% feel it, right? When
Right.
you're on the other side and I'm like, "Oh my gosh," I'm looking at the back of the camera and I'm like, "You look so amazing. Oh my gosh, your art. You're so, oh my gosh, keep this up." Like, I'm so encouraging, but I truly, truly feel it with each and every single person who steps in front of my camera. And if I don't, like, you're not going to hear it. So I do say it for everyone, but I truly mean it for everyone too, because I think women in general are beautiful. I think women's bodies in general are beautiful, no matter the size of them. And so, I am just there to show we don't think of ourselves as beautiful though, right? Like, I have done a lot of work, but I'll tell you something. I know we're going to talk about this in a few minutes, but I have been doing these new sessions called Unfiltered, and we're going to talk about it. But I
Okay.
had my own session done a week ago by my husband. So he photographed me in that way.
Oh.
And, when he was showing me the back of the camera, I was like, oh, no, 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 no. I was rejecting myself, rejecting myself, rejecting myself. So it's so nice to have, and he was doing his best. But he's not the person who's like, "Oh my gosh, you look amazing." Like, he's not like the hype person, right? He's just trying to
Yeah.
he's trying to get the picture right. So it's so important to have that hype person on the other side who is showing you truly what they're seeing, so that
Mm-hmm.
you are feeling it as well. Because it is such a vulnerable space to be in, and them hyping you up just helps you come out of your shell even more in your photos and truly show up as the authentic person that you are.
And that is what makes a photo great, to be honest with you.
Yes,
It's not
100%.
just a perfect shot or a perfect body or a perfect face. It's the personality, it's the vibe, it's the frequency that you see. There's an attitude, there's
Yes,
something unique. That's
confidence
what
to
makes,
it, energy
yes,
to it. Exactly.
that's what
Those
makes
are
a
the
photo
things.
great.
Yes,
Because
100%.
I've been in the aesthetic space for many, many years. I had med spas and whatnot. And I used to have patients who used to come in and just want everything exactly symmetric. Well, there is no such thing as exact symmetry. And actually, there's been studies done that show that if you actually make people 100%, take somebody completely beautiful, that most people will agree are beautiful, if you make their face and actually make it 100% symmetric, they don't
Yeah.
look beautiful anymore.
It looks weird at that
It
point,
looks
right? Yeah.
weird. We're
Yeah.
not supposed to be perfect. We're not supposed to be symmetric. We're
No.
supposed to be human and imperfect. That's part of it.
Yes. And bringing our love and our joy into the world and not so focused on our bodies. I mean, can you imagine what we would accomplish as women and men too? Because, don't get me wrong, men have plenty of body image issues
Oh,
as
they
well.
do.
Can
They
you
do.
imagine if we could just stop thinking about our bodies, obsessing about what we're eating or what we're wearing, or, whatever, how long it's been since we've had our roots touched up or whatever. Like, think about what else that we could accomplish in this world, of our joy and our love and our dreams and our goals that we want to bring into the world. Think about how much extra space we
100%.
have in there if we just stopped worrying about the rest of it.
Do you know, it's taken me to literally just probably this year to start feeling that way, where I don't worry about my body. I don't worry about this or that. I mean, I'm generally just, I'm very vested in taking care of myself. I want to
Sure.
take as good care of every part of my body as I can. But it used to be that when I saw those gray roots coming in, I would freak the hell out because I was like, oh my God, I'm fine with everything else. But do you know, lately, I've just been like, whatever. I have to tell you, I don't even rush to the salon. I mean, I don't want to be gray. So that's a personal choice for me. But I have to say that I don't rush to the salon when I see it. I
And
wait a
it's
few more
evolution
weeks.
and it takes time and you're, the way that you want to show up also is for you, right? Like
Exactly.
it's not for a standard that society has put on you for the way that you should look at this age, right? What you're
Yep.
doing now, the way that you take care of your body, when you wear makeup, when you do your hair, all those things, it's for you. It's not for someone else. I mean,
Right.
especially getting on camera like this every single week, like you do. I mean, I'm showing up on camera all the time too. It's like,
Right.
I don't have like a full face of makeup on, and
Oh,
it's okay, right?
it
Like
is. I mean,
it's fine.
whenever it's Zoom calls, I usually don't wear any makeup. For the show, I like to wear makeup
Right?
because,
A little bit more. Because it's what you
because
want
that's
to
how,
do. It's how
right.
you
It's
like to
what
show
I
up.
want to,
Yeah.
exactly. I'm like, this
Right.
is my
Right.
show. I love doing it. So for that, I like to get a little dolled up, but it's
Exactly.
not, my whole makeup job takes me about 3 minutes. So it's really not a lot of work. Thank God.
That sounds like a really good makeup job.
I was like, I just, honestly, I just don't have the patience and I don't really know what else to do. So whatever, I just do what I know how to do
Too.
and it takes me no time. So whatever.
Well, it's like
But
it's like there's so many more things that I want to do in this world other than like taking a lot of time to like worry about my hair and my makeup and stuff. I have so many more
100%.
things that are more fun that I want to go do. But some people love to do their makeup and love to do like a
Exactly.
lot of makeup and fun makeup, and that is amazing and good and wonderful, right? It's what you want to do
Right.
is the big thing. Like we don't
Agreed.
all have to be the same, doing the same, looking the same. It's what we want to do ourselves.
So yes, I would agree with that 100% because that's not something I care about on a daily basis. Also my hair, to do it, like spend a lot of time on my hair, that's not something I care about. But you know what I do care about is I like to always be very fashionable. I don't care if they tell me it's casual. I am not showing up in
You're dressed
like,
up, huh?
I'm still like not dressed up, but it's like
Yeah,
different
love it.
casual. Like most people will be in t-shirts and shorts and I don't really own that many t-shirts. I just still have to have on a cute top and I can wear shorts, but it still has to be very stylish and presentable. That's just me. So and it doesn't take me a lot of time, but that's just how I want to show up. And I've stopped worrying about, oh, this person's wearing that. And I feel a little, no, I don't care anymore. I'm like, this is how I roll, and we all should do that.
There's a person, I wish I could think of her name, Sarah something or rather on TikTok, and she wears the most wild outfits that you could ever believe. Like sometimes I'm just like, wow, she puts together patterns and pieces, and she
Right.
calls herself a maximalist, right, when it comes to dressing.
Oh, I
And
love that. I love that.
while it's not something that I would choose to do, I applaud her so much for what she does, because she does her makeup to the nines. She wears hats and huge shoes and I mean just everything that she puts on, but she does it
Right.
for herself. And she gets so many haters on these reels because they're like, "Oh my gosh, I would never do that." Well, then don't. You
Right.
don't have to. And you also don't have to go on there and condemn her for doing something on her own channel because she
Agreed.
loves to do it. So
That
anyway,
That is the
ugh,
beauty of our uniqueness, that we get to be who we want. And I'm really, this is one of the things I want to spread. This is one of the reasons I do this show and we talk about topics like this, because you don't have to agree with what anybody is doing at
right,
all. Who the hell
right.
cares? And nobody should be talking about what you're doing. You shouldn't really be talking about what they're doing. I feel that each one of us has the ability to live life, dress how we want, be how we want. If it's not for me, it's not for me. But I don't even have those thoughts in my head. I used to when I was younger. I'd be
Right.
like, oh, I wouldn't do that, very
Of
judgmentally
course.
kind of things.
Of
But
course.
these days, I'm
Yeah.
like, to each his own. If this is how because that's what makes us all different. And I'm glad that everybody's different, because it makes the world a much more interesting place. And so
Yes.
actually, this is the perfect time to transition into the other thing I wanted to talk about. We are
Yeah.
so fixated on confirmation and conforming. I said confirmation. It doesn't sound like what I wanted to say, but conforming in society's standards of what society believes that we should do. And we get stuck there. We get stuck in a rut. I know I felt like I had to do this, this, and this because society and really mostly my parents wanted me to do those things.
Right.
So, but then I woke up one day and I said, you know what? None of this is really what I want to do.
I want to do. Right.
Yeah. So I changed everything. But I love the story. Your first marriage was short. How long have you been married the second time?
We're coming up on 12 years the second time. So I was married for 5 years the first time. And it was exactly what you just said. I was 26 when I was 25 or 26 when I got married that first time. It was what I saw everybody doing, right? Oh my gosh, I'm almost in my late 20s. Like I should be getting married at this point. And so I kind of looked around and it was kind of the first guy, not really. It's like, oh, the first guy that I see, I'm going to pull him over and get married to him. And it's not exactly like that. But it's not like I really considered like what I wanted, but also that was in my time of perfectionism when I didn't really know what I wanted either. So it was like, okay, what I do know is that I'm in my late 20s and this is what people should be doing. They should be getting married. And so I shall get married. And so that's what I did. And 5 years later, I was divorced because that was not what I should have done actually. So yeah, exactly.
But your husband now takes a very non-traditional role in your household, and you have a non-traditional role in your household. So tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah. So we are coming up on year 12 of our marriage, and we have a 5.5-year-old son. I'm also stepmom to a 19-year-old. But so when I found out that I was pregnant, it was 2018, and I had just gone full time as a photographer. So just a quick, fun little backstory. I quit my full-time corporate job in the beginning of 2018. I was 40 years old at the time. I'd been trying to get pregnant between 2 different husbands at this point for like 15 years, couldn't get pregnant. And then all of a sudden, 3 months after quitting that corporate job and going full-time in my own business, I found out that I was pregnant for the first time ever. And so at age 40, well, I was 41 when I had him, but in that year, in 2018, I birthed a baby and a business all in the same year. So, but what I needed to be able to succeed was for my husband to really help me out. So he had been working his own corporate job as I had been. And then he kind of stopped working that. He was working to become a welder, but then we kind of realized that I had so much potential in my business and I needed a lot of help while I was pregnant and still very busy photographing. So he kind of quit doing the welding on the side too and really kind of came over to my business and started helping me, knowing that when our son was born, that he would also take the role of being the stay-at-home dad, because we again saw so much growth potential for my business that I needed to be out there being the face of that business and being in the community and working as much as I could. And so that is the role that we have taken. And so we are 5.5 years. I mean, since my son is 5.5 now, so we are 5.5 years into that. And it works for our family, right? And it works for our family right now. And I think that that's kind of what we were going back to what we were saying. It doesn't work for every family, and not everyone would want to do this. And that is totally cool. Like not every family has to do it this way. Right. But we have had some serious conversations around it. We check in to continue to make sure that he's still good with this. Right. Mm-hmm. It's easy for me to be out to be doing this role. He has a harder time with it. Right. Because he goes to mommy and me things, and he's the only dad that's there. And there are more and more dads these days who are taking these non-traditional roles, but there are still fewer than moms out there. You go to school drop off or to school pickup and it's still, mostly moms who are there. Right. So we check in all the time to make sure that he is still doing okay in this role and see if there's anything different that he would want to be doing. But right now we're still good with it. He's the primary caregiver to our son. He works for me in my business when my son is in school. It works out great. So that is what works for us in this very non-traditional way, but it works for us right now in this moment.
I just love this because, first of all, women do feel that they have to literally take on 25 roles the minute they're, working and they become mothers. And it's unrealistic and it's not feasible. And really what should be happening is exactly what you guys have done. Having a realistic conversation, which is going to contribute to the financial success, and what are these factors that will contribute to the financial success of our family, the relationship goals that we have, the family values and goals that we want to uphold. And there should be conversations around this, and they shouldn't be tied to any silly gender roles that society has set out for us. It should be based. Yeah, I mean, listen, if your business has this, and tell us, I remember you said you hit a pretty big benchmark with your business. Am I correct on that?
I did. I mean, I hit 6 figures my very first year, and I've just continued on every single year from there too, right?
And that's
and because of the role that he has played, he has contributed to that success, because he has allowed me the time that I've needed to be out there developing the relationships and speaking and doing all the things that I have needed to get my business up to this level and beyond. So we are both in it together 100%.
Yes, and it doesn't make you less of a mother, because the problem is out there, society works two ways. They're going to be condemning the fathers for, the father in a group, or it's like, oh my God, she doesn't love her child enough to actually, be there as a parent. And frankly, I couldn't do it either. I couldn't just sit at home. I was a freaking surgeon. I had my own practice. What was I going to do? Give up my medical career and sit at home? And, we did very non-traditional things too. My husband was actually at home working for the business, so he could take care of whatever happened with the children. And I was out working. So
wonderful. Worked for you in the same way. Yeah,
exactly. And, he was the one that took the kids to the appointments. It was great. And he was very non-traditional that way, which was fantastic. And I think more and more society really needs to start going in this direction for not just a few people. I feel like it's maybe 1% to 2% of the people that are operating this way. It should be a lot more.
Well, what it just keeps coming back to as well is that if you want to be a stay-at-home mom and be in that more traditional role, then that is wonderful and good. And if that is truly what you want to do, then that is fantastic. Right? But if you want to be the mom who's out there working, that is wonderful and fantastic as well. It's either way. It's whatever you want to do, whatever works the best for you. Regardless of what society is telling you that you should be doing.
Right. So for me, because I had sons, and now my sons are adults. So I really felt, for me, it was very important to show my sons that women are very strong, very capable, and are more than their coddlers and their meal makers and their laundry doers and whatnot. So at a very young age, I was like, listen, guys, you're old enough. First of all, your laundry's pretty stinky right now as they get into puberty. I can't even smell it. So it's time for you to do your own laundry. Wait till you get there. Oh my God.
Oh my gosh, I know I'm not there yet. I know it's coming.
You know, one day I just walked into their room and I was like, oh, guess it's puberty time. I'm like, it was a little bit before then. They were starting to do their own laundry. So my children were making their own lunches, doing their own laundry, and really and right now I'm proud of the sons that I have raised, because they're going to make great husbands for some women because they know how to do all their stuff themselves, and they do not expect a woman to wait on them hand and foot. So I didn't want to have sons that perpetuate that.
My husband is the one, he does all the cooking. I don't like to cook. It's just not it's not that I can't, it's just that it's not my highest value. I don't like it. So my husband does all the cooking. He's the one who usually, gets the laundry going and is doing the dishes and all the things, right? And there are things that I like to do. So sometimes I like to do more of the cleaning in the house. We've also kind of just said, okay, well, what is it that you excel at, or that you are okay doing? What are the things that I am okay doing? And we just split it like that. But I love the fact also that my son sees his dad doing all those things too, because, he's still really young. He's 5, so he's not quite getting there, but we're teaching him how to put the dishes away, teaching him how to put the laundry away, and teaching him to do all those things for himself too, because I want to raise a good human for our world, right? Whether whoever he loves is totally fine by me, right? But I just want to raise a really good human for the world who is ready to dig in and do anything that needs to happen, right?
100%. So there was one point I wanted to make that you said before. You were like, you were trying to get pregnant between 2 different husbands. So I just want to clarify for the audience that it wasn't at the same time.
It was not at the same time. Thank you for that clarification.
I was
many years in between.
No, I had to make that joke. I was like, I got to get that joke in there. But one other
I
thing,
know. When I say it like that, it does come across as pretty funny. But there were like 5 years in between the end of one
of
and the
course,
beginning of the
of
other.
course. No, but the real reason I brought that up was to make a joke, number one. And number two was that here's another big expectation or misappropriation that we have in society, that we have to have our children at, I don't know, 30, 20, whatever
Yes,
age society has deemed is
right?
okay now. And so
Yeah.
here's what I find that women do. They start talking about their biological clock ticking, and then they find whomever. And thank God, at least you didn't have a child with your first husband. I always joke with my females that I tell this to. I said, listen, you want to talk about being stuck in something? Have a child with somebody. You're stuck with them forever. You can divorce somebody if you haven't had a child with them. So,
Forever.
so it takes a lot more consciousness to choose who you're going to have a child with. This is just my
Yes.
opinion, but it's gloves
Yes.
off and it's my show, so I can say whatever I want. But
Right.
but I don't think that women should just have a child with whomever. I have this one woman friend who's really, she's a CEO of a very large company. She's extremely brilliant. She's probably about, I think she might be 35 right now. And of course, she's having that issue in her mind. But I was so proud of her when she said, well, the right man hasn't shown up and I'm not going to have a child with just anybody. So I made a conscious decision to freeze my eggs. And then she said, I'm going to do that. And I've also decided by, I think she said 2 years, if she hasn't found somebody, she's just going to have children because it's very important to her. How empowering is that attitude?
So empowering. I love it. There's no one right way to do any of this. And
Right.
honestly, I did not choose to wait until I was 41 to get pregnant, right? Like I had been trying since I was 25 years old. And you're right. I am so glad that children did not come from that first relationship, because we would be tied to that relationship more. It seems like I can hardly believe that it actually was part of my life at this point. But I am so much happier that I was 41 when I finally had my son, because I did not like the person that I was back then too, right? Right. We were talking about perfectionism and authenticity. I had this mask of perfectionism when I was 25 years old. So that is the mom that child would have gotten if I would have gotten pregnant then. I try to do everything so authentic in my life now that is the mom that my son gets now. And he gets such a more fun, joyful mom than he would have before, because that is just the type of person that I am more now. I am so much more fulfilled in my life. I was in corporate for 17 years and left that, and I am just so much more alive in the job that I have, not job, but like this life that I have now.
Right.
And he gets to see that. He gets to see the mommy who is building her own business and has, wonderful friends and is doing so many good things and contributing so much to society, that I am so glad that I did not get pregnant. Clearly it was it happened when it was meant to happen in my life. And I
Right.
am just so grateful that the person that I am now is the mom that he gets.
100%. And there really is something to be said for that. And I'm going to tell you, in contrast to what you're saying, when I had my children, I was not an authentic version of myself. What they got was, I like to call her militant mom. I mean, I ran my household like the military, because I was in a surgical residency. Everything was run like the military. So that was how I knew how to get things done. And I didn't have a lot of time. I didn't have a lot of time for joy in my life. I didn't have time to play with them or joke with them or anything. And yes, I have a tremendous amount of regrets about that. But the beauty of it is that as my children have gone into adulthood, I've had some real deep, meaningful conversations with them about that. I have accepted and owned what I did. They understand why it was that way. But they also see that I'm a very different version of myself now. So whatever they didn't get when they were kids, they're getting now. And we have a great relationship.
Yes. I love it. They're getting it now. It's wonderful. I love this.
Who's to say which is better? But, it is what it is. But what my point was, that for those of us who didn't make that transition into authenticity because we had children younger or whatever circumstance was going on in our lives, it's not the end. You can still change it. Nothing is ever final and nothing's ever concrete except death. But, and that's really what we have to understand. I actually interviewed my own son.
I love
on the
it. So
show for
good.
Mother's Day, my
Yeah.
oldest one. And we talked about these things really open hearted. And these are things I knew. And he was funny because the question I ask everybody before the show, is there anything I shouldn't ask you about? He's like, is there anything I can't say, Mom?
Right.
I'm like, you know what? Say whatever you want. I can handle it. I will own what I did not do right. I also understand why I didn't do it in the way that I wanted to. We
Right.
are all growing. We're all works in progress. And the important thing
Yeah.
is that I had the understanding to change it and change my relationship with my kids. So
Yes.
that being said,
Yes.
for those of you who are out there, like I feel so much of this is about, owning our own authenticity, being our most truthful selves, not sticking into these confines of what society says that we need to do. We are the creators of our own lives. And we can
Yes.
create it how we want.
And if we don't like what we've created so far, we can change it at
Oh
any
yeah,
time. Literally, it's never too late.
100%.
Never too late. I
100%.
started my business. I got pregnant when I was 40, right? It's never too late to change the way that we are doing things in our lives.
And I reinvented myself at what, 50 something, 51, 52?
Literally, we've been reinventing ourselves it doesn't matter at what age. Oh my gosh.
Exactly.
It reminded me of the story that I heard about a woman wrote a book and she was telling a story of someone that she knew who kept reinventing herself. And her last reinvention was at like 78 or something like that, right? It's literally never too late to go after what you love and to change things about your life, to do things more that you love and to reinvent yourself. So
So
I
I
think
have a
that is
new take. I
yeah.
have a
Yeah.
little bit of a new take on the reinvention of oneself. I had this
Yes.
epiphany one day, so you might find this interesting because I've always been saying that I reinvented myself, reinventing myself. What I believe is truly happening is that as we get older, we're actually uncovering ourselves,
Yes.
understanding who we really are, and then with that, recreating a life that is in alignment with that. I feel that
I
that resonates with me more than
yes.
saying, like, I don't know. That's just because I can tell you that's what I feel is happening to me.
Yeah, it's like
Every
peeling back those layers, right? To just
exactly.
completely take it all off, completely uncover, and then add the layers
Wow.
back on of more things that bring you joy. Yeah.
Exactly. Because when I
Love
go
it.
back to what I wanted to do as a child, it was to speak, it was to be in front of cameras and, speak my mind. Those were the things that I absolutely wanted to do when I was a child. But then it all got changed and, they beat it out of me, not physically, but just
But
beat it out of
here
me
you are doing
emotionally.
all those things. It's
And
amazing.
and it's
Yeah.
funny how you go back and this is exactly what I wanted to do and here I am doing it now. So I believe that it was always there and I do believe it's there for probably all of us, that if we
Right.
go back to when we were children, what brought us the greatest joy, I believe that from your bio, you were doing photography at a young age.
I
That
was.
is very likely the thing we should be doing. And yet again, society, I'm really down on society, but anyway, but society teaches us and conditions it out of us to
Right.
say, oh,
Exactly.
well, that's not acceptable. You can't make money with that. Thank God
Right.
now there are ways to make money. I mean, heck, there are crazy ways to make money. It's funny. I was having a conversation with my brother. And sometimes my father doesn't understand, what I do and, how I'm even surviving and blah, blah, like, because I don't have like just one job and that's the only thing he understands, so
Yeah.
I've always been in business for myself. So he doesn't understand. My brother says, so funny. He goes, Dad would not understand the whole only thing. And that people could actually make a lot of money. I started dying. I was like, you're right. You can literally make money doing all kinds of crazy things. People play video games and get paid for it. So the world as it
People
was,
sell pictures of their feet and get paid for it. You can do anything these days.
right. So it's silly to think that you cannot make money doing the thing that you love. Yes,
Exactly.
there are a bazillion photographers out there, but each one has their unique perspective, their unique story, and not everybody's going to resonate with the same photographer.
Exactly. I mean, there's a million of all of us out there, right? I mean, if you
Right.
think of any kind of industry at this point, I mean, they're on every corner, right? And so it's just
Exactly.
about and that's why authenticity is so important, is
Yes.
because the way that people connect to us is from our own true selves. And so I guarantee you that everyone who comes to me to be their photographer is because they've connected with me at some level, right? And those who don't, they've connected with somebody else, and that is great too, right? So it's just about bringing your
100%.
own true self. My whole thing is around obviously perfectionism, and getting rid of perfectionism, moving to authenticity, and body image. And so those are the two areas that I'm constantly talking about. So the people who those things resonate with, they definitely lean into me more, and that's who ends up wanting to work with me. So it's about bringing your own true self to whatever you're doing. And there is definitely clients to be had, money to be had from that, but it's just really showing up as your true self.
And it's also about like not putting limitations on ourselves too. So
Absolutely. Absolutely.
yes.
Right. I mean, we can think about too, like I'm an artist, right? I mean, photography falls into the arts and creativity,
100%.
and so many things that we've said is, artists don't make any money, right? There's limitations because there's only so many clients and you're always in competition and all these limitations that come up with it. But really, those are all in our head. Those are things that someone else has shit on us, has, told us about, who isn't in this industry, who isn't probably doing a thing that they love to do also. So there are literally no limits if you can get it into your mindset that there are no limits.
I love it. I love it. So Karianne, I actually had put your website in here to show on the screen, and I don't know that I had saved, so it's not showing up. I apologize. So I'm just going to give you a couple of minutes to tell our audience where they can find you. Because do you travel? I can't remember if you do, or do people come to
Not
your
typically.
studio?
I mean, it's something I would do, but I'm based out of Phoenix. So you guys can find me. My name, Karianne Munstedt. I'm literally the only one of those in the entire world. So if you go type in Karianne, Karianne, Munstedt, Munstedt, you're going to find me on Facebook and Instagram and TikTok and Pinterest and LinkedIn, all the places. And my website, KarianneMunstedt.com. And I am based in Phoenix. I don't travel a lot, but I have an amazing, beautiful studio here in Phoenix. It's only about 15 minutes away from the airport. People fly in all the time for photo sessions for me. So it's truly about connecting with that photographer, like knowing what you need out of photography and knowing what you need from it and finding a photographer that you connect with. So if that sounds like, something, if I just knocked something off I get so excited I'm into it right now. But if that sounds like something that you like, or that you're interested in, definitely reach out to me at any of those places.
I love it. And it is so true, because literally it is the most important thing to have that authentic connection, because once you have that, the photos are different.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, so my hashtag is real is the new perfect. That's my hashtag that I use on
Oh, I love
everything,
that.
because it's real over perfection, right? Authenticity over perfection. The more that we
Right.
can show our real selves, again, some people aren't going to like that, but the people who do are really going to lean into that. And if you can show more of that authenticity and that joy and that love and that energy in your photos, people are just going to lean into that so much more, right? We hear this thing, you've heard it before, a photograph, or people take like 2 or 3 seconds to judge you based on your photograph. And while we don't want to be judged, and while that stinks, it's still true of the society that we live in today. So you want to bring your truest self to your photographs, so that when they do look at that photo and judge you, they're judging it in a way that really resonates with them. So yes, find a photographer who helps you bring out that true you into your photos, and it will change the way that you see yourself as well.
I totally agree. Well, Karianne, this has been so special. And
Thank
I
you.
love the excitement that you bring to everything you do. And you can
Yep.
just tell you're so authentic and very unique. So
Thank
it's
you.
it's been an absolute pleasure having you on this show. And, I
Mine
really
as
wish
well.
you well in your business. I want to see more and more success coming your way through the years.
Thank
And
you.
I
Thank
can't wait to
you.
see what your lovely son turns into, a beautiful young man, as I'm sure he will.
As I'm sure he will. Likewise, thank you so much for having me on. It's been such a pleasure talking with you today.
Oh, it's been a pleasure. You have a wonderful rest of your evening. All right. And have a great
All right.
one.
Bye.
Bye. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed that episode. It's so true that every photographer brings something so different to through their lens into that graph. And I think really it's worth traveling. If you are able to find somebody in your area and you don't have to travel, great. But if you feel comfortable with somebody, it is worth a little plane ride, in my opinion, because there are very few people who really bring that authenticity. some people just make it feel like a job, and that's not what you want when you're trying to get your photos done. So next week, I am going to be interviewing a gentleman named Lem. I was about to say Len, which is not true. He is doing this really cool thing where he's actually refurbishing computers and giving them to young children who don't have accessibility to computers and whatnot. So we're going to be talking to him next week, and I'm for some reason blanking on the name of the company. I cannot remember it now. But anyway, we'll talk about it next week. So anyway, I'm happy to end today's episode on this happy note, and have a wonderful Sunday, everybody. And tune in next week for another episode of Gloves Off.